The fog rolled in off the bay like a confession long overdue, wrapping the Golden Gate Bridge in its damp embrace as Madeleine Voss gripped the railing until her knuckles ached white. Below, the Pacific churned with secrets as dark as the ones she buried to build her throne. And then, from the shadows of the toll booth, a voice cut through the mist. You think you can outrun the truth forever, Maddie? Or does it finally feel like drowning? San Francisco had always been her kingdom, a glittering sprawl of glass towers and whispered deals where ambition wore a smile like armor. Madeleine Voss, 34 and untouchable, heiress to Voss Dynamics, the tech giant that powered half the world's smart cities with algorithms that predicted everything from traffic jams to human desires. Her face graced Forbes covers. Her name evoked envy at galas in Pacific Heights. But that night on the bridge, as the wind whipped her auburn hair across her face, she felt the first crack in the facade. It was her. Of course, Alara Kane, the ghost from a life she'd torched years ago. Alara, with her dark curls and eyes like storm clouds, standing there in a worn leather jacket that smelled of rain and regret, holding a faded photograph that fluttered like a flag of surrender. You shouldn't be here, Madeleine said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. She didn't turn fully, afraid that one look would unravel her. Alara had always seen too much, peeled back layers with a glance that felt like mercy and judgment intertwined. Neither should you. Building empires on sand, Matt. Your father's lies were bad enough, but yours? They're a masterpiece. Alara stepped closer. The photo extended like an olive branch or a blade. It was them. Younger. Tangled in sheets in a cramped Oakland apartment. Sunlight slanting through blinds. Before Voss Dynamics swallowed everything whole. Before the accident that wasn't an accident. Before Madeleine learned to lie so well she almost believed it herself. Madeleine snatched the photo, crumpling it in her fist. But the damage was done. Memories flooded in. The boardroom where she'd sold her soul for a signature. The nights blurring into code and champagne. The hollow ache of loving someone she couldn't afford to keep. Alara had vanished after the fallout. A junior engineer fired for asking too many questions about the software glitch that killed 12 in a self-driving fleet crash. Questions that pointed straight to sabotage. Straight to the Voss name. Madeleine had paid her off. Or tried to, wired money to an account that drained dry. Left a note that read, "For your safety. For mine." But Alara hadn't taken the bait. She'd gone underground, piecing together the puzzle Madeleine had shattered. Why now? Madeleine finally faced her. The bridge lights casting long shadows that danced like accusations. Alara's face was sharper than she remembered, etched with the lines of someone who'd fought shadows alone. 35. Still, or near enough. Her olive skin glowing faintly under the sodium lamps. Curls tamed into a loose braid that begged to be undone. Because the truth doesn't die, Maddie. It festers. And I've got proof emails. Logs. The kind that could topple your pretty little dynasty. Alara's voice softened at the edges. A crack in her armor. But I'm not here to destroy you. Not yet. I came because I never stopped. Even after you pushed me away. The words hung between them. Heavier than the fog. Madeleine's empire was built on that push, fabricating patents, burying whistleblowers, turning her father's embezzlement into innovation mythos. Voss Dynamics wasn't just code. It was a lie she wore like couture, convincing investors, lovers, herself that she was the visionary, not the survivor. But Elara knew. Elara had always known the girl beneath, the one who dreamed of quiet mornings in Vermont farmhouses, not corner offices with views of the bay. They didn't kiss that night. Not on the bridge. Instead, Madeline drove them back to her penthouse in Soma, the city lights blurring into streaks of neon regret. The apartment was a sterile palace, marble floors, abstract art that cost more than most people's homes, floor-to-ceiling windows framing the skyline she'd conquered. Elara wandered it like a museum, fingers trailing over surfaces that felt foreign to her touch. "You live like a ghost," Elara said, sinking onto the leather sofa, her boots leaving faint imprints on the rug. "All this space, and no one to fill it." Madeline poured scotch, neat, handing a glass over with hands that shook just enough to betray her. "It's efficient. Like the code we wrote together. Clean lines. No errors." Elara's laugh was bitter. "Low. That code killed people. Maddie. You know it. The glitch wasn't random, it was deliberate. To tank the competitor's stock. Your father's orders. But you executed. And then you covered it up." The accusation landed like a slap. But Madeline didn't flinch. She'd rehearsed denials in mirrors, boardrooms, bedrooms. "I was 25. Scared. He said it was the only way to save the company. To save us. Us." Elara's eyes flashed. Standing now. Closing the distance. The air between them crackled, charged with the electricity of unfinished sentences. There was no us after that. You chose the empire over everything. Over me. Madeline set her glass down, the clink echoing like a gavel. She reached out, tracing the line of Elara's jaw, the skin warm and real under her fingertips. It had been years since touch felt like this, raw, unscripted. "I chose survival. But you're right. It was a lie. All of it." Elara didn't pull away. Her breath hitched, eyes searching Madeline's for the truth they'd both buried. The kiss came slow, tentative, like testing fragile ice. Lips brushing, then pressing, hands finding purchase in hair and fabric. It tasted of scotch and salt, of apologies unspoken. They stumbled toward the bedroom, shedding layers, jacket, blouse, the weight of years. Skin against skin. Madeline traced the scars on Elara's ribs, faint lines from a life of scraping by, while Elara's fingers mapped the tension knotted in Madeline's shoulders. In the quiet after, tangled in silk sheets that cost a fortune, Elara whispered against her neck, "This doesn't fix it. The truth is still out there." Madeline held her tighter, the city humming beyond the glass. "Then let's face it together. One lie at a time." But dawn brought clarity, and with it, the first fracture. Madeline's phone buzzed incessantly, board alerts, a merger deadline looming. Elara stirred, watching as she silenced it, the mask slipping back into place. "You're already pulling away," Elara said, voice thick with sleep and something sharper. "I'm not. I just have to go in." Meeting at 9. Madeline dressed quickly, the routine a shield. But as she nodded, her tie silk, emerald to match her eyes, she caught Elara's gaze in the mirror, wounded and wary. "Promise me you'll come back. No more running. I promise." The words felt hollow even as she said them. She kissed Elara goodbye at the door, lingering too long. Then stepped into the elevator that whisked her down to a world of polished lies. The office was a hive, analysts in hoodies, screens flickering with data streams. Madeline's assistant, Theo, a wiry kid from Austin with a drawl that charmed clients, handed her coffee. Boss. The SEC's sniffing around again. That glitch from '09? Someone leaked docs. Her stomach dropped. Alara? No. Impossible. But the seed of doubt planted itself deep. By noon, she was in a war room, lawyers spinning narratives, her father's ghost in every decision. Voss dynamics thrived on prediction. But this was chaos she couldn't code away. Cross town. Alara sat in a dingy cafe in the Mission, laptop open to encrypted files. The photo from the bridge lay beside her untouched coffee. She'd come back for love, or what was left of it. But the files burned in her drive, irrefutable proof that could end it all. A journalist friend had connected her to a podcaster in Chicago, hungry for the story. One email, and the empire crumbled. But as she typed, then deleted, Alara's mind wandered to the curve of Madeline's smile in sleep, the way her voice softened saying her name. Betrayal or redemption? The choice clawed at her. Evening found Madeline at a fundraiser in Nob Hill, schmoozing donors in a gown that hugged her like a second skin. Laughter tinkled like ice in glasses, but her thoughts were elsewhere. Alara. Waiting. Perhaps packing. A text buzzed. Miss you already. Dinner? Relief flooded her. Yes. Italian place on Valencia. 8. She slipped away early, the city alive with possibility. But as she turned the corner, a figure detached from the shadows. Theo, eyes wide, phone in hand. Madeline. Wait. It's bad. The leak. It's from inside. And it's got your name on it. The world tilted. Not Alara. Couldn't be. But the photo in her pocket felt heavier now. A talisman or a curse. The Italian place on Valencia was a hole-in-the-wall sanctuary. Strings of Edison bulbs swaying gently overhead. The air thick with garlic and the murmur of locals arguing over soccer scores. Alara arrived first, claiming a corner booth where the candlelight could hide the shadows under her eyes. She'd spent the afternoon walking the Castro, past rainbow flags fluttering like forgotten promises, letting the pulse of the city remind her why she'd returned. San Francisco wasn't just concrete and code, it was the place where she'd first tasted freedom, kissing Madeline under the glow of a street lamp after a pride march, both of them 22 and invincible. Now, as she nursed a glass of Chianti, doubt gnawed at her edges. The files sat heavy in her bag, a digital Pandora's box. She could walk away, let the past bury itself. Or she could force the light in, watch the empire, and perhaps the woman crumble. The door chimed, and there was Madeline, slipping through like a secret, her gown traded for jeans and a cashmere sweater that softened her edges. Heads turned, even incognito. She carried the aura of someone who owned rooms. You look human, Alara said, standing to pull her into a hug that lingered, bodies aligning in familiar ways. Madeline laughed, low and genuine, pressing a kiss to her temple. Blame the bridge. Or you. Mostly you. They ordered pasta carbonara for sharing, a bottle of red to drown the day's edges. Conversation flowed easy at first, Hilaire's freelance gigs debugging apps for startups. Madeline's quip about a board member who collected vintage Ferraris like regrets. But under it, tension simmered. Unspoken. Theo's warning echoed in Madeline's mind. A discordant note. The leak was internal. Timestamps matching access logs from her own team. Paranoia? Or protection? She pushed it down, focusing on Hilaire's hand on hers across the table. The way her thumb traced lazy circles on her wrist. "Tell me about your afternoon," Madeline said, needing the anchor of normalcy. Hilaire hesitated, fork midway to her mouth. Walked around. Thought about us. Back when we were broke and brilliant. Remember that night in the park? Coding on your laptop till dawn? We fixed the world. One line at a time. Madeline's smile faltered. That code had been their baby. An AI for urban planning that dreamed big. Her father had twisted it. Weaponized it for profit. We were unstoppable. Until you let him win. The words slipped out sharper than intended. Carbonara turning to ash in Hilaire's mouth. She set her fork down, meeting Madeline's gaze. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean. No." "You're right." Madeline leaned in, voice dropping to a whisper that carried the weight of confessions. "I wake up some nights, staring at the ceiling, replaying it. The crash footage. Those families. I tell myself it was collateral. Business. But it's blood on my hands. Hilaire. And you're the only one who sees it." The vulnerability cracked something in Hilaire. A dam she built from anger and absence. She squeezed Madeline's hand, pulling her closer across the table. "Then let me help you wash it off. Not cover it, face it." Together, they left the restaurant hand in hand, the night air crisp with salt from the bay. Madeline's penthouse called, but Hilaire suggested a detour, the labyrinthine streets of Chinatown, where lanterns bobbed like fireflies and the scent of dim sum lingered. They wandered, shoulders brushing, stealing kisses in alleyways that tasted of ginger and possibility. For a moment, the empire faded, reduced to the warmth of Hilaire's palm in hers. Back home, the mood shifted. Wine loosened tongues, bodies rediscovering rhythms long forgotten. Madeline's bed was a sea of white linens, Hilaire's curls spilling across pillows like ink. They moved slow, exploratory, fingers mapping collarbones, lips tracing the dip of hips. "I missed this," Madeline breathed, her voice breaking on the edge of a moan as Hilaire's mouth found the sensitive spot behind her ear. "Missed you." Hilaire paused, hovering above her, eyes dark with wanton warning. "Then don't let go this time." The intimacy deepened, a tangle of limbs and sighs, until exhaustion claimed them, wrapped in each other's arms as the city slept. Morning brought intrusion. Madeline's alarm blared at 6, pulling her from dreams of bridges and burns. Hilaire stirred, murmuring protests, but duty called. In the shower, steam clouding the glass, Madeline's mind raced. The leak, Theo had forwarded an anonymous email, redacted logs pointing to a ghost account. Hers? No. But close enough to unsettle. She dressed in armor, pencil skirt, blouse crisp as fresh code. Hilaire watched from the bed, sheet clutched to her chest, expression a mix of languid satisfaction and quiet resolve. "What's the plan today?" "CEO. Damage control. Meetings till I drop." Madeline leaned down for a kiss, but Heiress held her back, searching her face. Be careful. Mads. Secrets have a way of biting back. The warning lingered as Madeline descended to the garage, sliding into her Tesla. Ironic, given the industry's sins. Traffic on the 101 was a snarl of honks and brake lights, mirroring her thoughts. By the time she reached Voss Tower, a monolith of steel and glass piercing the skyline, her assistant was waiting, face pale. It's worse, Theo said, ushering her into the elevator. The podcaster Some Woman in Chicago dropped a teaser episode last night. The Voss Veil, Lies That Drive the Future, it's got traction. Twitter's exploding. Madeline's blood ran cold. Heiress' journalist friend? Coincidence? She strode into her office, a corner area with views that mocked her isolation. Screens lit up with feeds, hashtags trending, memes of her face photoshopped onto crumbling thrones. A call from the board chair. Voice oily with concern. Madeline. Darling. We need spin. Fast. She nodded through platitudes, but her mind was on Heiress safe in her bed. Or plotting. Trust fractured like thin ice. Mid-morning. She texted, lunch? Need you. The reply came swift. Can't. Gig in Oakland. Tonight? Suspicion bloomed. Oakland, where it all began. Where files might hide. Madeline buried herself in calls. Lawyers drafting NDAs. Parascripting her innocence. A quiet poison. Across the bay. Heiress hunched over her laptop in a co-working space. Fingers flying. The podcaster's teaser had lit a fire, downloads spiking. Tips pouring in. One email caught her eye, from an ex-Voss engineer. But as she read, guilt twisted. This wasn't just justice, it was demolition. And Madeline, caught in the blast. She closed the lid, staring out at the water. Love wasn't clean. It was messy. Gart. Worth the risk. Or was it? The afternoon dragged. Decisions deferred. Evening crept in. Fog reclaiming the city. Madeline arrived home to an empty penthouse. Heiress' bag gone. A note on the counter. Ran late. Meet at the bridge? Like old times. 9 p.m. Relief ward with wariness. She changed into something simple, jeans, that same sweater, and drove. The route etched in muscle memory. The bridge loomed, girders etched against the dusk. Heiress waited midway, silhouette familiar, a thermos of coffee in hand. You came, Heiress said, pulling her into an embrace that smelled of jasmine and resolve. Always. But as they walked, arms linked, Madeline's phone vibrated, a breaking news alert. The podcast full episode. Voices anonymized, but facts damning. Her father's voice, grainy recording, sabotaged the fleet. It's us or them. Heiress froze, pulling back. Matt. You. The word cracked like thunder. Was this your plan? Seduce me back into the light. Then pull the pin. Hurt flashed in Heiress' eyes. Raw and real. No. No. I came to warn you. To help. But the truth. It's bigger than us. Madeline backed away. The railing cold under her palms. The empire teetered. And so did they. Fog swallowed the horizon, mirroring the blur in her vision. The bridge vibrated under rush hour traffic, a mechanical heartbeat underscoring the silence between them. Madeline's chest heaved, words failing her as the podcast's echo rang in her ears. Her father's voice. That fateful directive. Now public poison. Alara reached out. Tentative. But Madeline flinched. The betrayal a fresh wound. I swear. Maddie. I didn't leak it. Alara's voice cracked. Hands open in supplication. I got the files years ago. From a drive you left in the apartment. I held on to them. Thinking. I don't know. Leverage. Or hope. But I pitched the story to my friend months ago. Before I came back. Anonymously. To force your hand. Force my hand. Madeline's laugh was hollow. Echoing off the cables. You think this is a game? Lives are unraveling because of this. My team. The company. Your team covered up murder. Alara stepped closer. Undeterred. Her curls whipping in the wind. 12 people. Mads. Families shattered. And you profited. We profited. Back then. But I couldn't live with it. That's why I left. The admission hung. A noose tightening. Madeline remembered the drive USB stick. Innocuous. Left in haste after their last fight. Code backups. She'd thought. But Alara had seen deeper. Always did. You could have come to me. We could have fixed it. Fixed it? Like you fixed everything else with money and NDAs. Alara's eyes glistened. Not with tears. But fury tempered by sorrow. I loved you too much to watch you drown in that. So I ran. Rebuilt in pieces. But I never stopped checking on you. From afar. Seeing your face on billboards. Knowing the cost. Love. The word pierce. A bomb and a barb. Madeline sagged against the railing. The bay a void below. San Francisco sprawled distant. Lights winking like false stars. Her empire. Once a beacon. Now a target. Stock would plummet by morning. Headlines would feast. And Alara. The one truth in the lies. Architect of the fall. What now? Madeline whispered. Voice lost to the wind. Alara closed the gap. Cupping her face. Thumbs brushing cheeks damp with mist or more. Now. We choose. Run together. Or burn it down. But no more half-truths. The kiss was desperate. A collision of need and despair. Salt on lips. Hands clutching as if to anchor against the storm. They broke apart gasping. Foreheads pressed. The world narrowing to breath shared. Not here, Madeline said. Pulling Alara toward the car. My place. We talk. Really talk. The drive was tense. Radio off. City lights streaking past like accusations. In the penthouse. They shed coats. The space feeling smaller now. Walls closing in. Madeline poured wine Cabernet. Bold as their youth. And they sank onto the sofa. Knees touching. Start from the beginning, Alara urged. Sipping slow. Your father. The crash. Madeline exhaled. The story uncoiling like smoke. Elias Voss. Visionary tyrant. Had built Voss Dynamics from garage hacks to Silicon Valley titan. But competition from Apex Auto loomed. A rival fleet threatening market share. He called me in. Late night. Sabotage their test run, he said. A glitch in the NAV, nothing fatal. Just enough to delay, but it was fatal. The code I wrote. It cascaded. Wrong turns. Brakes failing. 12 cars. Piled on the interstate. Alara listened. Hand on Madeline's knee. Steadying. You were his pawn. But you stayed. Why? Power. Legacy. And fear he'd ruin me otherwise. After. He pinned it on Apex. Paid off investigators. I signed the reports. Buried the logs. Inherited the crown when he died of a heart attack 2 years later. She paused. Swirling wine. Stroke. Really? Stress. My stress. Silence stretched. Heavy with ghosts. Alara set her glass down. Shifting closer. I found the drive after you ghosted me. The money you sent? I donated half to crash victims' funds. The rest kept me afloat while I pieced it together. Freelance. Odd jobs. Lived in a van for a year. Up in Oregon. Fog like this but greener. Madeline's heart ached at the image Alara. Fierce and free. While she polished her throne. I thought you'd hate me. I did. Then I didn't. That's the problem. Alara's fingers laced with hers. A lifeline. I came back because the podcast was gaining steam. Wanted to shield you. Or pull you out. But seeing you. It reignited everything. The admission sparked something primal. Madeline leaned in. Capturing Alara's mouth in a kiss that started soft. Exploratory. Then deepened into hunger. Hands roamed under sweaters. Over skin warmed by wine and want. They migrated to the rug. Fire crackling in the hearth she'd rarely lit. Casting golden flickers over bare forms. Alara's touch was reverent. Lips trailing fire down Madeline's throat. Eliciting gasps that echoed off marble. You're beautiful, she murmured against collarbone. Even broken. Madeline arched. Fingers tangling in curls. Guiding. Pleading. Their rhythm built. A dance of forgiveness and fire. Cresting in shared release that left them trembling. Entwined. After. In the hush. Alara traced patterns on Madeline's back. We expose it. Cleanly. You step down. Testify. Rebuild something real. Madeline stiffened. And lose everything? Gain yourself. Alara's voice was steel-wrapped in silk. Sleep came fitful. Dreams of crashes and embraces. Dawn broke with Theo's call. Stock down 15%. SEC subpoena incoming. Madeline dressed in the gray light. Alara still asleep. Vulnerable in repose. The office was pandemonium. Executives pacing. Printers whirring with legal briefs. Board chair. Harlan. A silver fox from Chicago transplants. Cornered her. Madeline. This is catastrophic. We deny. Pivot to innovation narrative. No. The word escaped before she could cage it. Heads turned. We own it. Press conference. Noon. Full disclosure. Murmurs erupted. Harlan's face purpled. You're insane. This sinks us. Or saves us. She met his gaze. Stealing. For Alara. For the girl on the bridge. By 11. Lawyers balked. But Madeline held firm. Scripting truth over spin. Theo lingered. Eyes wide. You sure? Boss? This. It's biblical. Never been surer. She texted Alara. Presser at noon. Watch. Cross town. Alara woke to the message. Heart swelling. She tuned in from a cafe. Screen live streaming Voss Tower. Madeline at the podium. Poised in navy suit. Hair pulled back severe. Cameras flashed. Ladies and gentlemen, she began. Voice steady. Voss Dynamics was born in ambition, but stained by compromise. 10 years ago, a decision was made to sabotage a competitor. Lives were lost. I was complicit. Today, I resign as CEO and commit to full cooperation with authorities. Gasps rippled. Alara's coffee grew cold. Pride and terror mingling. The room erupted, questions, accusations, but Madeline stood firm, eyes finding the camera, as if seeing her. Aftermath crashed. Stocks tanked further. Allies scattered. Harlan called for her head. Literally, emergency board vote that afternoon. Madeline returned home shattered, finding Alara waiting with takeout in open arms. You did it, Alara said, pulling her close. We'll see. But in that embrace, doubt receded, replaced by fragile hope. Yet whispers grew, leaks continued, pointing deeper. Not just the crash, funds siphoned, patents stolen. Someone inside, still playing. The penthouse felt like a bunker now, fortified against the siege outside. News vans clustered below like vultures, their spotlights piercing the fog-shrouded night. Madeline paced the living room, phone silenced but vibrating against the coffee table with the fury of a cornered animal. Resignation hadn't quelled the storm, it had ignited it. Twitter, whatever they called it now, swarmed with Voss down. Memes of her as Icarus, wings melted by truth's sun. Alara watched from the kitchen island, chopping vegetables for a stir-fry that neither might eat. Her presence was a quiet anchor, sleeves rolled up on a borrowed shirt that hung loose on her frame, revealing the tattoo on her forearm, a compass rose, inked during that Oregon year, pointing nowhere and everywhere. Sit, she said, gesturing to a stool. Pacing won't rewrite the headlines. Madeline collapsed onto the leather, head in hands. They want blood. Alara. Harlan's rallying the board for a full purge, me, my execs, anyone tied to the old regime. And the feds? They're digging for tax evasion now. Not just the crash. Alara slid a glass of water her way, fingers brushing in reassurance. Good. Let them. You've started the unraveling. Now it finishes itself. She resumed chopping. Knife steady. The rhythm a counterpoint to chaos. Remember Austin? That summer we interned at the startup fair. You coded circles around everyone. But it was my pitch that won the seed round. We were a team then. A ghost of a smile tugged at Madeline's lips. Austin's scorching heat. Cheap tacos. Nights in a shared motel room where ideas flowed freer than beer. Before Elias summoned her back to the fold. We were kids. Now, I'm the villain in my own story. Alara set the knife down, rounding the island to stand behind her. Hands on shoulders, kneading tension like dough. Villains don't confess. Heroes do. Even if it costs the kingdom. Her lips brushed the crown of Madeline's head. A benediction. The touch ignited sparks. But grief tempered it, too raw, too soon. Dinner was subdued. Eaten cross-legged on the floor amid throw pillows. plates balanced on knees. Heiress spun tales of her freelance life, debugging a fintech app in Chicago's Loop, where winds howled like lost loves, a gig in a Montana cabin, stars so close you could code by them. Madeline listened, hungering for the simplicity. Her own anecdotes reduced to boardroom battles and gala small talk. Plates cleared. The TV droned low, CNN recapping the presser. Pundits dissecting her fall. A Shakespearean tumble, one quipped. Heiress to harlot. Madeline muted it. But the damage lingered. Bed. Heiress suggested, extending a hand. They undressed in the dim bedroom. Bodies familiar yet changed. Madeline's frame leaner from stress. Heiress marked by time's subtle etchings. No urgency tonight. Intimacy was solace. Slow explorations with fingertips and whispers. Heiress' mouth traced the locket at Madeline's throat, the one holding a tiny photo of them from Austin. "What's next for us?" she murmured, breath warm against skin. Madeline pulled her closer, legs entwining. Survival. Then, something real. A cabin in Vermont. Maybe. Code for good open source. Non-profits. Heiress chuckled softly, nipping at her earlobe. Dreamer. But yes, their lovemaking unfolded like a lullaby. Gentle waves building to quiet crescendo. Aftershocks leaving them curled. Breath sinking. Sleep evaded Madeline. Mind racing through scenarios. 3 a.m. She slipped from bed, padding to her office nook. Laptop glowed. Emails unread. One caught her, anonymous. Subject deeper lies. Attached spreadsheets. Offshore accounts in her name. Timestamps from last year. Not the crash, fresh sins. Embezzlement from the green tech fund she championed. Her blood iced. Harlan, or closer. She forwarded to her lawyer. Hands trembling. Dawn painted the bay pink. Heiress stirring with coffee aroma. Rough night. Worse. Madeline showed her the files. Voice flat. Someone's framing me. Or finishing what I started. Heiress scanned. Jaw tightening. This is retaliation. Board infighting. We need proof, your proof. The day blurred into strategy. Calls to trusted allies. A PI from her Rolodex. A woman named Riley out of New Orleans with a drawl and a knack for shadows. By noon, they were en route to Voss Tower, Madeline for the board vote. Heiress shadow support. Laptop in tow for digital forensics. The boardroom was a coliseum. Long oak table. Harlan at head like Caesar. Members in suits starched as their resolve. Madeline entered chin high. Heiress waiting in the antechamber. Resignation accepted, Harlan boomed. No vote needed, preordained. But we pursue charges. Personal liability. Murmurs of agreement. Madeline stood. Voice cutting crystal. Pursue away. But know this, the leaks? They're from here. And I'll trace every bite. Gasps. Harlan blustered. But she was gone. Striding out to Heiress' waiting arms in the hall. Brave, Heiress whispered. Kissing her fiercely. Uncaring of security cams. Afternoon brought heat. FBI agents at the penthouse. Suits crisp. Questions pointed. Madeline answered straight, crash complicity. Yes, new funds. No. Heiress hovered, offering tea with steel in her eyes. Evening. Alone again. Tension snapped. Wine led to wandering hands, frustration channeling into passion. On the kitchen counter. Urgent. Clothes shed in haste. Hilaire's back against cool marble. Madeline's mouth claiming. Eliciting cries that echoed. "I need you," Madeline gasped. Fingers delving. Bodies arching in unison. Release came fierce. A dam breaking. Leaving them slumped. Laughing through tears. But night deepened the shadows. Madeline's PI texted. "Leads on the leak." Pointing to Theo. Her assistant. The loyal kid from Austin. Betrayal stung fresh. Confrontation brewed. Next morning. She summoned him to a neutral cafe in Hayes Valley. Hilaire at a corner table. Incognito. Theo arrived fidgety. Draw clipped. "Boss. Why?" Madeline slid the printouts across. Voice breaking. The accounts. The frames. Was it money? Or revenge? Hailed. Glancing at exits. "Not me. Harlan, he cornered me. Said promote or perish. I faked the logs. But the real dirt? It's bigger. Your father had partners. Silent ones. In Louisiana. Oil money laundering through the Green Fund. The revelation landed like a gut punch. Not just Voss sins, tendrils into Old South corruption. Theo bolted. But Hilaire was faster. Blocking with quiet menace. Talk. All of it. He spilled names. Date. A web spanning decades. Madeline recorded it. Hands steady now. As he fled. Hilaire turned to her. Road trip? New Orleans. In this. Madeline nodded. Fire in her veins. Together. They packed light. Tesla humming south on I-5. Windows down. Wind whipping secrets away. California faded to Oregon's greens. Then Nevada's dust. Stops were sparse. Roadside diners where Hilaire's hand on her thigh grounded her. Motels with neon signs flickering like hope. In a Reno room. Neon bleeding red through curtains. They made love with the road's wildness, Hilaire atop. Hips grinding slow. Eyes locked. We're free, she breathed. Climax shared like a vow. But dawn brought calls. Harlan suing for defamation. Feds widening nets. The empire crumbled. But so did the lies. Brick by brick. Louisiana loomed. Humid with promise and peril. The Tesla 8 miles under a relentless sun. Carrying them from Nevada's bone-dry flats into Arizona's red rock embrace. Then east through Texas panhandle winds that howled like unfinished arguments. Madeline gripped the wheel. Jaw set. While Hilaire navigated from the passenger seat. Laptop balanced on knees. Cross-referencing Theo's confessions with public records. New Orleans wasn't just a destination. It was a reckoning. The humid heart where Elias Voss's roots tangled with old money sins. Bayou Black, Hilaire read aloud. Tracing a map. That's the LLC shell company laundering oil profits into your green fund. Harlan's signature's all over it. But the silent partner? Beaumont Landry. Sugar baron turned energy ghost. Madeline's knuckles whitened. Beaumont, named from childhood whispers. Her father's poker nights in Baton Rouge. Cigar smoke thick as alliances. He funded the early days. Patents. Laps. I thought it was clean. Hilaire's hand covered hers. Squeezing at a stoplight in Amarillo. Nothing's clean in empires. But we're digging it out. Her touch lingered. Thumb stroking. A promise amid the highway drone. Nights blurred into motel oases. In Tucumcari, a room with a rattling AC. They showered together. Water cascading over curves. Hands soaping with intent. Laughter bubbled as suds slid, turning to sighs when lips met under the spray. Alara dropped to knees, mouth worshipful, drawing moans that fogged the mirror. Madeline braced against tile, fingers in wet curls, release shuddering through her like desert rain. "You're my compass," she gasped after, toweling Alara dry, kissing freckles on shoulders. In Shreveport, closer now, sleep was fitful. Dreams of crashes morphed into bayou floods, Harlan's face leering from cypress knees. Alara woke her with gentle fingers, making love in the dark slow, side by side, breaths mingling till dawn. New Orleans greeted them like a fever dream, jazz spilling from French Quarter doorways, air heavy with magnolia and regret. They checked into a Creole guesthouse off Esplanade, wrought iron balcony overlooking gardens tangled with bougainvillea. No Tesla glamour, this was low profile. Cash paid. Aliases whispered. First stop, a Paboy joint in the Treme, where Theo's contact, a wiry accountant named Jules, with a saint's cap and wary eyes, slid into their booth. "Landry's untouchable," he muttered over shrimp. "Drawl thick. But his daughter's sloppy. Socialite. Throws galas for eco causes. Funds traced to her events, your green tech. Laundered clean." Madeline leaned in, voice low. "Proof." Jules slid a thumb drive across. Napkin wrapped. "Invoices. Wires. Careful, Beaumont knows you're coming." Harlan called ahead. Alara pocketed it, her gaze sharp. "We appreciate the risk." Night fell sultry, quarter alive with buskers and revelers. They wandered Bourbon Street's edges, beignet dusted with sugar like fleeting sweetness. In a shadowed courtyard, away from crowds, Alara pulled Madeline into a dance, no music but heartbeats, hips swaying close. "Feel that," Alara murmured, hand at the small of her back. "The city's pulse. Like ours." Madeline's laugh was soft, forehead to hers. Chaotic. Alive. The kiss ignited, deepening against stucco walls, hands roaming under shirts, teasing edges of propriety. They stumbled back to the guest house, shedding clothes on the stairs, falling into the four-poster bed in a heap of limbs and longing. Alara's body was a map Madeline knew by heart, curves yielding, gasps guiding. She trailed kisses down sternum, tongue circling navel, eliciting arches and pleas. "Please," Alara whispered, legs parting. Madeline obliged, mouth fervent, fingers joining till Alara shattered. Name a litany on lips. Reciprocation was tender. Alara's touch knowing, drawing out Madeline's surrender with patient strokes, whispers of affirmation. Climax crested gentle, tears mingling on pillows after. Morning brought strategy. Decrypt the drive in a quarter cafe. Wi-Fi veiled. Files unfolded a web, Landry's oil spills masked as Voss innovations, Harlan skimming percentages. Enough for indictments. But exposure risked backlash. As they plotted, a shadow fell Jules, frantic, bursting in. "They're onto you. Landry's men. At the gala tonight. Beaumont's daughter hosting, your chance. But dangerous." Madeline's pulse raced. The gala. Eco fundraiser at the Cabildo. Irony's thick. We go. Crash it. Metaphorically. Alara nodded. Fierce. Together. Evening transformed them. Madeline in a sleek black dress borrowed from a vintage shop. Emeralds at throat. Alara in emerald silk that hugged her form. Curls pinned with antique combs. They slipped in amid swells. Champagne flutes in hand. Blending as power players. Beaumont's daughter. Lila Landry blonde. Botox smooth. Mid-40s held court. Toasting sustainable futures. Madeline approached. Smile weaponized. MS. Landry. Inspiring. Voss sends regards before it folds. Lila's eyes narrowed. Recognition flickering. Voss. The fallen star. Daddy warned me about loose ends. Conversation dance barbed. Probes. Parries. Alara hovered. Charming donors. Laptop hidden in a clutch for discreet scans. Tension coiled as Harlan appeared. Tuxedoed shark. Cornering Madeline by the punch bowl. You shouldn't be here, he hissed. Breath bourbon sour. This ends quietly. Or what? Alara materialized. Arm linking Madeline's. Voice honeyed venom. More leaks? We've got yours. Harlan. Bayou Black. Every wire. He blanched. Retreating into the crowd. But alarms blared literal. Security swarming. Intruders, a guard barked. Eyes on them. Chaos erupted. Guests fleeing. Lila screeching. Madeline and Alara bolted. Heels clicking on courtyard stones. Laughter bubbling amid panic. They ditched shoes. Dashing to the riverfront. Mississippi's muddy churn witnessing their escape. Hiding in a riverside park. Breaths ragged. They collapsed against oaks. Adrenaline surged. Kisses frantic against bark. Hands urgent under skirts. Alara's fingers found heat. Stroking swift. Madeline biting lip to stifle cries. Release was wildfire. Quick and consuming. Leaving them slumped. Giggling like thieves. Close call, Madeline panted. Worth it. Alara grinned. Thumb brushing swollen lips. Back at the guest house. They uploaded files to secure servers, lawyers, feds, journalists. Dawn brought warrants. Landry's arrest. Harlan's detainment. The web unraveled. Threads pulling tight. But victory soured. A call from San Francisco. Board dissolving Voss dynamics. Assets seized. Madeline's fortune, poof. Whispers in wind. Naked truths. She was broke. Expose. Free. Alara held her as sobs came. Body a haven. We'll rebuild. Small. Real. Love. In the ruins. Felt infinite. Yet one thread dangled. Lila's parting glare. Promising reprisal. The empire's ghost lingered. New Orleans exhaled them like a sigh. The Tesla pointed north once more. Files dispatched. Harlan and Landry in cuffs by noon news. The quarter receded in the rear view. Jazz fading to highway hum. But the weight of unraveling clung like Spanish moss. Madeline drove in silence at first. Hand steady on the wheel. Alara's playlist, Lucinda Williams' crooning of hard country truths, filling the void. You're quiet, Alara said finally. Feet propped on dash. Skirt hiked casual. Penny for him? Madeline glanced over. Smile wry. Worth more now I'm penniless. The joke landed flat. But Hilara's hand on her thigh warmed it. Freedom's the real currency. Admit it feels lighter. Doesn't it? It did. No alerts buzzing. No mergers looming. Just road. River. Them. They detoured through the Atchafalaya Basin. Cypress knees rising from brackish water like ancient sentinels. A boat rental in Henderson, rickety flatboat. Motor chugging took them deep into the swamp. Air thick with egret cries and gator splashes. Hilara steered. Ponytail swinging. While Madeline trailed fingers in the murk. This is what I imagined for us, she said. Voice soft over the drone. Wild. Unscripted. Hilara killed the motor. Boat drifting lazy. Then let's make it real. No more waiting. She leaned across. Kissing slow. Tasting of chicory coffee and bayou mystery. Hands wandered, blouse unbuttoned. Skirt rucked up. The boat rocking gentle as lips parted. Fingers exploring with the languor of untethered time. Madeline's back arched against the seat. Gasp swallowed by cypress shade. Hilara's mouth trailing south till pleasure crested in ripples matching the waters. After. Floating in afterglow. They talked futures. A tech co-op in Austin. Open source for community good. Or Vermont's quiet. Coding apps for local farms. Dreams spun loose. No empires to eclipse. But nightfall brought reality. Motel in Natchez, blufftop view of the Mississippi. Room with a clawfoot tub. Soaking together. Bubbles foaming. Madeline traced scars on Hilara's knee from a freelance fall. Tell me about the van life. Hilara leaned back. Head on her chest. Lonely at first. Portland rains. Coding in laundromats. But liberating, woke to mountains. Chased sunsets. Missed you. Though. Every mile marker a reminder. Regret twisted Madeline's gut. I pushed you into that. The payoff. The silence. Forgiven. Mostly. Hilara turned. Water sloshing. Straddling her in the tub. Kisses deepened. Wet skin sliding. Hands cupping breasts. Thumbs teasing peaks. Madeline's fingers delved beneath water. Circling. Thrusting till Hilara trembled. Cries echoing off porcelain. Reciprocal. Hilara's touch expert. Drawing Madeline under in waves of bliss. Sleep came deep. Tangled damp. Mississippi yielded to Tennessee hills. Then Kentucky bluegrass. The Tesla's charge holding as they veered to Lexington for horse farms and bourbon trails. A distillery tour turned flirtatious, Hilara sampling neat. Eyes sparkling. Whispering dares. In the barrel house. Shadows long. They stole a moment against oak casks. Mouths hungry. Hands hasty under jackets. Quick. Intense. A preview of nights ahead. San Francisco called distant. But feds requested return testimony. Depositions. Arrival was anticlimax. Empty penthouse. Auction signs on furniture. Theo's desk cleared. Her lawyer. A sharp Seattle import named Dana. Met them in a cafe. Charges dropped on you, cooperation credit. But civil suits pending. Harlan's fighting dirty. Hilara squeezed her hand under the table. We've got dirtier. Weeks blurred. Hearings in federal court. Madeline in witness box. Voice steady recounting sins. Hilara attended daily. Laptop whirring support fact checks. Leaks to allies. Evenings were sanctuaries. Cooking in Alara's cramped mission flat. Borrowed from a friend. Spices filling air with cumin and cumin-scented promise. One night. Post-deposition. Exhaustion peaked. Elara drew a bath in the tiny tub. Candles flickering. Undress, she commanded soft. Helping with buttons. Kisses peppering exposed skin. In the water. Close quarters forced intimacy. Legs intertwined. Hands roaming lazy. Alara's fingers traced spine. Dipping lower. Eliciting shivers. Madeline reciprocated. Mouth on neck. Hand between thighs. Building slow till release side shared. You're healing, Elara whispered after. Toweling her gentle. With you. But scars itched, press hounding. Old lovers texting pity. Climax brewed unexpected. Lila Landry. Out on bail. Surfaced in tabloids, smear campaign. Claiming Madeline seduced her for secrets. Lies. Vicious. Painting her predatory. Twitter erupted. Voss Vixen trending with doctored photos. Rage boiled. Elara found her raging at the laptop. Smashing keys. Enough. She pulled her away. To the bed. Stripping deliberate. Fight tomorrow. Tonight. Us. She pushed Madeline down. Straddling. Grinding slow. Eyes locked fierce. Hands pin wrist. Mouth claiming breast. Tongue swirling. Power shifted. Raw Alara's fingers plunging deep. Pace relentless. Drawing cries that drowned doubt. Madeline flipped them. Taking control. Hips bucking. Nails raking back till both shattered. Sweat slick. Sated. Morning brought resolve. Countersuit. Evidence dump. Lila crumbled. Charges added. But deeper wound. A letter from Elias's estate lawyer. Postmarked Montana. Unopened will amendment. Madeline's disinheritance. For tarnishing the name. Hollow. But it stung. Severing the last thread. Elara burned it in the sink. Flames dancing. Your name's yours now. Ours. Grief turned to pivot. Job offers trickled, consulting. Ethics boards. Madeline chose small. Gig at a Berkeley nonprofit. AI for social good. Alara's freelance boomed. Podcast tie-ins. They sublet a No Valley cottage, cozy. With a garden patch for herbs. Bay views hazy. Love deep and domestic. Mornings tangled. Coffee shared. Evenings coding side by side. Feet hooked under desks. Intimacy evolved, lazy Sundays in sheets. Exploring toys from a discreet Castro shop. Laughter mingling with moans as vibrations hummed promises. Yet shadows lingered. Anniversary of the crash neared. Ghosts whispering. Madeline woke sweating. Elara soothing with body and words. We're the truth now, she murmured. Fingers gentle between legs. Rocking to sleep's edge. Healing. Inch by inch. The No Valley cottage breathed life into them. Its gingerbread trim and wild rose arbor a far cry from penthouse sterility. Sun streamed through lace curtains. Gilding mornings where Madeline woke to Alara's humming in the kitchen, oatmeal with berries. Strong coffee steaming. 6 months post-fall. The world had softened edges. Civil suits settled quietly. Harlan in prison. Landry's empire diluted in pleas. Voss Dynamics rebranded under new blood. A cautionary plaque in the lobby. Ethics first. Madeline's nonprofit gig suited her. Days wrangling coders for apps that mapped food deserts in Oakland. Evenings debugging with Elara over takeout. Their rhythm was syncopated jazz. Alara's freelance deadlines clashing with Madeline's grant proposals, resolved in laughter and late-night tangles. One crisp November afternoon, they hiked Twin Peaks, city sprawling below like a conquered map. Fog clung to Bernal Heights, but up high, clarity reigned. Alara spread a picnic cheese, figs, wine from a Sonoma tasting they'd road-tripped, leaning back on elbows, curls splayed on the blanket. "Remember Chicago?" she asked, popping a grape. "That conference where we snuck into the rooftop. City lights like code running wild." Madeline chuckled, lying beside her, hand-tracing arm. "You dared me to kiss you in front of the magnificent mile. Nearly got us tossed. Worth it." Alara rolled atop, pinning with playful weight, lips brushing. The kiss warmed slow, hands slipping under layers, fleece unzipped, skin chilled then heated. Fingers teased hems, dipping bold, gasp swallowed by wind. Madeline's hand found purchase, stroking through denim. Alara rocking urgent till release trembled shared. Discreet under clouds. Public hazard. "You," Madeline teased after, zipping up. "Your fault." Grin wicked. Eyes soft. Winter deepened bonds. Holiday lights strung on the arbor. Solstice dinner for friends Theo. Redeem. Bringing pecan pie from Austin kin Dana. With tales of fresh cases. Laughter filled the cottage. But quieter moments anchored. Alara's head in lap by the fire. Madeline reading poetry, Walt Whitman. Leaves of grass tangling loves. Intimacy flowered nuanced. A gift-wrapped box on Yule. Silk restraints from Alara's imagination. "Trust," she whispered. Binding wrists to headboard. Blindfold soft. Feathers first, then ice, tracing paths that arched Madeline's body. Mouth followed. Hot contrast. Building exquisite till plea broke free. Climax crashing like waves. Reciprocal nights. Roles reversed, Alara bound. Madeline's touch dominant. Fingers and tongue orchestrating surrender. "Beautiful," she breathed. Watching flutters. Drawing out till tears of joy wet lashes. Spring bloom tentative. Crash anniversary. Madeline braced. But Alara planned vigil, drive to Point Reyes. Lighthouse stark against surf. They scattered petals from wildflowers into the tide. Names whispered for the lost. Grief crested. But in the inn that night. Bodies soothed slow. Face to face. Penetrative with the harness from their drawer. Rhythm sinking to ocean roar. "I carry them with you," Alara murmured. Thrust deep. Eyes locked through climax's veil. Healing etched permanent. Tattoos in a Sausalito parlor matching. Subtle. Binary for truth on ribs. Alara's compass gaining a heart needle. Summer tested. Lila's appeal. A circus media storm. Paparazzi camped the cottage. Drones buzzing like flies. Madeline testified again. Voice iron. Alara in the gallery. Hand squeezed pre-court. Verdict. Upheld. Lila jailed. Champagne that night. Bubbles fizzing as they danced kitchen nude. Bodies pressing to slow jams. Against the fridge. Urgent, Alara lifted. Legs wrapped. Fingers plunging as mouths clashed. Countersex followed. Bent over. Pace frantic. Release sticky sweet. But fracture loomed subtle. Alara's podcast offer full-time in Chicago. Investigative series on corporate sins. 6 months, she said over dinner. Eyes hopeful wary. then back. Or join me. Madeline's fork paused, heart clenching. Roots here cottage. Nonprofit. Rebuilt life. Chicago. Cold winds. Ghosts of conferences past. I need time. Tension simmered. Nights cooler, sex mechanical. Affection strained. Arguments brewed. You're scared of change, Alara accused. Packing for a scouting trip. You're running again, Madeline shot back. Door slamming. Alone. Regret flooded. Madeline drove the bridge at dusk. Railing familiar. Fog kin to that first night. Tears came. Hot. For the push-pull of love's tide. Alara returned early. Finding her on the balcony. Wine half gone. I can't lose you to distance, Madeline confessed. Voice raw. Then come. Or I stay. Alara knelt. Hands framing face. Choose us. The kiss was lifeline. Desperate. Tumbling them inside. Clothes shed furious on the rug. Alara's mouth devouring. Fingers curling just so. Madeline writhing. Begging. Flip. Madeline atop. Grinding strap on slow then fierce. Watching Alara's abandon. Joining in shuddering peak. We go together, Madeline panted after. Chicago. Then wherever. Nomads with code. Relief bloomed. Plans hatching. Sublet the cottage. Nonprofit remote. Fall-packed boxes. Emotions high. Last hike. Twin Peaks golden. They made love in the Tesla at Overlook. Seats reclined. Windows fogged. Bodies urgent. Hands and mouths mapping farewell to the bay. Chicago awaited. Windy promise. Chicago's loop swallowed them whole. Skyscrapers clawing sky like ambitions unchecked. Lake Michigan a steely mirror to their fresh start. Alara's podcast studio was a loft in Wicker Park. Exposed brick. Mics gleaming. Views of viaducts rumbling with L trains. Madeline carved a nook for remote consulting. Screens syncing with Berkeley teams. Her voice bridging coasts via Zoom. First weeks were honeymoon haze. Deep dish pizza greasy glorious. Art Institute wanderings hand in hand. Bodies rediscovering in the king bed of their rented brownstone. Mornings. Alara left lipstick traces on collarbones. Fingers lingering between thighs till Madeline arched awake. Release a gentle alarm. Evenings. Post records. Alara returned wired. Stories of fallen execs spilling like bourbon. Channeling energy into bed. Drap harness. Thrusts rhythmic as train clatter below. You're my muse, she'd whisper. Pace building. Eyes devouring Madeline's gasps till shared crest left sheets twisted. Breaths ragged. Challenges crept. Madeline's remote lags frustrated. Isolation gnawing in Alara's long hours. A grant rejection stung. Tainted legacy. The email sneered, doubt whispering old lies. Winter bit hard. Blizzards blanketing the city. Cabin fever turning tender to terse. One night, after Alara's late edit session, argument ignited over takeout cold. You're retreating, Alara accused. Fork stabbing lo mein. Building walls again. Like San Francisco, Madeline recoiled. Wine glass slamming. I'm adapting. You chase stories, I chase stability. Can't you see? Words escalated. Hurts unearthed, Alara's fear of complacency. Madeline's terror of loss. Door slammed. Alara storming to studio. Madeline to streets. Snow whipping face like judgment. Hours later, Ilara found her at a dive in Ukrainian village, hunched over vodka. "I hate fighting you," she said, sliding beside, hand tentative on knee. "Hate more losing you." Madeline leaned, foreheads touching. Cab ride home was silent, charged. Brownstone door barely shut before clothes flew against wall. Ilara's hands pinning, mouth bruising. On stairs, fingers desperate, eliciting moans that echoed halls. Bed claimed them fully. Bodies warring then yielding, Ilara's tongue expert. Drawing sobs, Madeline's fingers curling deep. Pace punishing then pleading. Climax healed. Tears salting skin. Vows murmured in afterglow. No more running. Spring thawed. Podcast soared. Episodes on Voss-like falls drawing awards buzz. Madeline's consulting bloomed. Ethics workshops for startups. Her story a badge not burden. Summer hummed. Lakefront picnics. Bikes along the drive. Nights on the balcony with gin and jazz from below. Intimacy innovated. A couple's retreat in Door County, Wisconsin, where tantra classes unbound them. Breathwork sinking to touches featherlight. Building to peaks profound. Bodies one in candlelit cabins. Fall brought crossroads. Ilara's series wrap. Offer for national syndication travel. DC. Base. Madeline's non-profitite expansion. Chicago hub tempting. Talks turned deep. Over skyline dinners. Fears voiced. "I want forever," Ilara said one night. Ring box simple. Gold band etched with binary love. "Marry me." Mats. Wherever the road leads. Tears welled. Joy fierce. Yes. All in. Wedding brewed small Montrose Point. Autumn leaves flaming. Friends from coasts. Theo officiating withdrawal vows. Dana toasting sharp. Dresses simple, Madeline ivory lace. Ilara sage silk. Exchanging bands under oaks. Lake whispering blessings. Honeymoon Vermont cabin. Fall foliage ablaze. Days hike. Nights in king loft bed, fire roaring. Bodies slow. Exploratory. Ilara's mouth mapping every inch. Fingers and toys teasing edges till Madeline begged. Release cascading like leaves. Reciprocal. Madeline bound Ilara with scarves. Ice and heat alternating. Climax rung exquisite. Years folded gentle sea. For Ilara's show. Madeline consulting federal ethics. Children. Adopted twins from Louisiana foster. Curly-haired mischief. Echoing their wilds. Family dinners chaotic. Bedtime stories coded with morals. Challenges came. Ilara's burnout. Madeline's boardroom ghosts. But therapy bridged. Date nights reignited. Hotel trysts in anonymous towers. Anonymous until bodies met. Familiar fires. A decade on. Gray threading curls. Lines etching laughs. They returned to San Francisco. Cottage reclaimed. Roses riot. Bridge walk at dusk. Hands linked. Fog familiar friend. "You built an empire on lies," Ilara said. Stopping midway. Eyes green as Madeline's. "But we built truth." "Better." Madeline pulled her close. Kiss timeless. "And love. The only code that runs eternal." The city hummed below. There's no more to conquer. But to cherish. Lives woven. Scars badges. Future a shared horizon.